Welcome to this week's edition of World Today, where we will focus on a major development that could impact food security in many parts of the world, particularly in Ukraine. Two things have happened this past week. One is the attack on granaries in Ukraine as an act of retaliation by Russia for the drone strikes in Crimea. Second is Russia withdrawing from the United Nations brokered grain initiative that allowed Ukrainian grain to be exported via the Black Sea. While the Kremlin has been complaining about the terms of the deal since last October, the decision will take a toll on global food security. Here's a detailed report.
Russia halted participation on July 17, days ahead of the renewal of this year-old UN brokered deal that lets Ukraine export grain through the Black Sea, causing concern in poorer countries that price rises will put food out of reach. The suspension of the Black Sea Grain Initiative will exacerbate what is already a terrible situation across Europe, Africa and beyond.
This decision to end the Black Sea Grain Initiative is regrettable. And from where I stand in Eastern Africa, I would say it's very regrettable, because in fact this is going to make our ability to feed hungry people that much more difficult. Already there are 80 million people in the region who are acutely food insecure. A whole range of factors are driving that. It's conflict, it's climate, it's the economic shocks, and of course it's the hangover from COVID. This suspension of the initiative will just exacerbate what is already a terrible situation.
After the attack by Ukraine on a critical bridge connecting Crimea, which was captured by Russia in 2014, Moscow retaliated in full force. A double-pronged attack, first the granaries in Odessa and Mykolaiv with successive nights of airstrikes on the southern Ukrainian port cities, followed by ending the grain deal.
This terrorist attack proves that their target is not only Ukraine and not only the lives of our people. In the ports that were attacked, there were about millions of tons of food stored. It is precisely that amount that should have already been delivered to consumer countries in Africa and Asia. 100% of all Somalis use wheat. We pray to God for peace in Ukraine and everywhere. Let all wars stop, and we hope grain routes will remain open, God willing.
The two countries are at war and Moscow is unsparing. The Black Sea deal was brokered by the UN and Turkey in July last year to combat a global food crisis worsened by the Russia-Ukraine war. The two countries are among the world's top grain exporters. Russia is claiming, why should Ukraine profit from the deal when Western sanctions are blocking Russian agricultural exports?
They used the grain deal to profiteer shamelessly. Initially, the deal was aimed to safeguard the global food security, decreasing the threats to hunger and to support the poorest countries of Africa, Asia and Latin America. This was why Russia has committed itself to promote its fulfillment.
Russia's decision has forced Ukraine to reroute its grain exports as its 6 major Black Sea ports remain under a blockade. This has left millions at increased risk of starvation.
It will not stop our efforts to facilitate the unimpeded access to global markets for food products and fertilizers from both Ukraine and the Russian Federation.
The world is trying to push Russia back into the deal, but it may take months until the ports reopen.
Blow hot, blow cold. That is literally the mood of the weatherman, which should really put countries, governments and their leaderships on high alert. Extreme weather events are becoming more common and are impacting nations the world over, all thanks to climate change, all thanks to mankind. Here's a detailed report.
Halfway into 2023 and climate change is already hard at work, with extreme weather events hitting headlines and costing lives and livelihoods all around the world. From floods to drought to flash floods. Wildfires, unbearable heat waves, unmatched ice storms. Climate change is happening here and now. The heat wave engulfing the northern hemisphere is set to intensify this week, causing overnight temperatures to surge and leading to an increased risk of heart attacks and deaths, according to the World Meteorological Organization.
But more importantly, we need the world to broaden its attention beyond the maximum temperature alone. In many locations where the maximum is reaching into the high 40s or higher, the temperature may still be near 40 at midnight. So in these circumstances, the minimum temperature is more important for health and failing critical infrastructure which supports these people during extreme heat waves. So repeated high nighttime temperatures are particularly dangerous for human health because the body is unable to recover from sustained heat. This leads to increased cases of heart attacks and death.
Heat waves this summer saw temperatures climb to 53 degrees in California's Death Valley and over 52 degrees in China's northwest, coinciding with wildfires from Greece to the Swiss Alps and deadly flooding in India and South Korea. It is a double whammy of global heating in 2023. Greenhouse gas emissions and a return of the El Nino making matters worse. El Nino, a weather pattern in the Pacific Ocean that occurs every 2 to 7 years, is known to send temperatures soaring. The changes in climate due to El Nino mean more natural disasters for climate-vulnerable countries to contend with amid a climate crisis that is already decimating lives. Italians braced for record temperatures on Tuesday that could see highs of more than 47 Celsius on the Mediterranean island of Sardinia as deadly heat waves and extreme weather gripped Europe, Asia and the United States.
These are hellish temperatures. I don't know what else to call them. It feels like hell, and it's bad because working in this heat is not easy and people would rather drink than eat. We sell a lot of granita and the water doesn't have time to cool down in the refrigerator and people need to drink a lot of cool things.
Here are visuals of the aftermath of a wildfire that broke out in Kovaras, about 27 kilometers southeast of Athens in Greece. Charred fields and burned out buildings, fanned by strong winds, raged uncontrolled through the village, forcing residents to flee their homes. Canada is currently experiencing its worst ever start to the wildfire season, largely due to an extreme dry period followed by a heat wave. Meanwhile, the world has still not been able to find consensus on how to fight climate change. It is the developed world versus the developing world. While the battle rages, it is the countries of the global south or developing nations who are bearing the brunt of this growing man-made menace. India experienced extreme weather causing incessant rainfall, flash floods, landslides leading to loss of lives and massive damage to property. With the COP28 summit to be held in the UAE in November, there are many challenges to be addressed. The most important would be to bring about consensus and a path to reducing carbon footprint, not just through individual action, but most importantly, it is time that world leaders and business leaders listen to the science and deliver the urgent, widespread and ambitious reform.